in starting this campaign and walking the neighborhoods, I've been encouraged by the will of the voters to want to talk to me and their interest in the issues. We talk about jobs, we talk about education, and they're concerned and they're looking for leadership. And I think being that I've spoken to a lot of them, I have a good grasp of what their concerns are and how I can articulate that down if I earn the opportunity to represent District 18. I'm a small business owner. I have worked in large business and corporate business and small business, so I recognize the challenges that the government outreach causes both small and large businesses and how it inhibits free market principles and policy. I want to work on reduction of tax burden to the taxpayers and eliminate restrictions so businesses can succeed and be successful. Like I mentioned, our biggest employer now is the state of Arizona, and the unfunded liabilities relative to that is a concern that we're going to have to address as well. So with the experience that I have in aerospace and defense and the high-tech industry, I will take those skills, management and leadership skills that are proven. We created jobs when I was vice president of the company. We had a healthy, sustainable business, and we were a profitable company. And I learned a lot through that experience relative to working with a number of different disciplines, working with a number of different people. And even now in aviation, my aviation friends say, "Were we so terrible to work with that now you're going into politics?" And I said, no, you gave me a thick skin. But I work with, now in aerospace, I work with unions, I work with CEOs, I work with a number of different reliability and maintenance and purchasing people. So I have a good background with leading different groups, and I would be honored and privileged to earn the vote of the District 18 voters to represent them.
I'm not a politician. I'm the only one here who's never been involved in politics, and probably shows with some of my responses. I'm a teacher and an engineer and a small business person. I taught computer engineering at ASU for 30 years. Before that, I served as an officer in the Air Force. And now that I'm retired from teaching, I want to give back to the community. I think I can contribute some valuable things to the legislature. The legislature needs all the good judgment, common sense, and I think fiscal responsibility that it can get, and I want to bring those things. As a small business person, I've experienced firsthand the red tape, the incredible complexity of government regulations, reporting requirements, and so forth. I want to help to cut those things. An example, a friend of mine is a plumber in the district. He has to have a tax license for Pheanis, Mesa, Tempe, and Chandler. He has to buy that tax license every year for all 4 cities. He has to file a tax return every month, even if he doesn't do business in that city. He has to know which city he's in when he's doing the plumbing repairs, so he knows how much to charge. It's just overly complex. He should be doing plumbing. He's really good at that. He shouldn't be doing accounting and tax things like that. What the state can do, and I'm pleased to hear that they're working in that direction now, is to centralize all that and say, okay, there's one report that goes to the state, then the state disperses the funds to the cities so the cities still get their money and it's not such a burden on small businesses. The other thing that's important to me is education. I put education and jobs as my tie for number one priority. We need to improve education at all levels. I have some concrete ideas for that, such as improving the region's scholarships and improving the compensation for teachers so that we can get more teachers, and better students. When we get better students, better education, we will have better jobs and better economy. So I don't claim that I can do all those things, but I can certainly contribute and work with, I've talked to some people in the legislature that are very rational, reasonable people, and I can work with those people to help these things happen.
Basically, it's been an honor and obviously a pleasure to serve the citizens of our district. I mean, it's an interesting district. As gone out and you knock on doors, you get a lot of different comments, and they run the gambit. It's not all on the things we talk about, but in many cases, you get to recognize when you represent a community. And the community has changed considerably in many respects over the years. That one day you could have a next door neighbor, and the next day they could be living in a car. And so there are other things that you deal with in the legislature, other than the grandiose type of bills and other things. You deal with a lot of the human problems, and you try to solve a lot of those issues. Those aren't the things you put on your campaign brochures or other things, but you work as a legislator. You're able to dig down deep into into agencies and make sure that people are able to get the services, in some cases, to get their lives back in order. There's been a lot. We've gone through a lot as a district. The high-paying jobs we talked about quite a bit, and retracted quite a bit as well. And so a lot of companies streamlined and back. Some of that stuff's starting to come back, but not at the rate. We've lost a lot of talent. We've lost a lot of people. And those are concerns. From the education standpoint, the school districts have taken a lot of hits and had to work their way through a lot of the problems. We've asked the state and the communities that we serve a lot, and we have to start putting that needle back to where it is, but not to the extent that necessarily it was, because we can't afford to do that at this point. Many of the citizens don't recognize that the legislature, we went into an economy where we had to cut 1/3 of the entire budget of the state. We're not even back to the level that we were back in 2007. So a lot of the comments that are made and a lot of the grandiose things that are being said, even on the campaign trail, I sit back and I go, how are you going to cut those taxes? That's $4 billion. Where do I find $4 billion for my economy? And the court rules, and I'm looking at another $2 billion problem. I'm looking at the healthcare side of it. It could have been a $1.6 billion issue. So it's not what you necessarily what you want to do. It's what sometimes you have to do, and you have to. Sometimes I'd say the toughest thing down there that I have to do is push the yes button, because I recognize when I push that yes button on an issue, there's going to be an effect. The easiest vote of the legislature is a no. No maintains the status quo. Yes moves the state forward, and yes, sometimes we make a mistake, and we've made a few of them, believe it or not, over the years, but. You have to have the willingness to be able to move forward and be able to get the things done. So I ask that I have the opportunity to go back and serve the community. I believe I've represented it well over the years, and I want to continue to do that.
Well, let me just say this. 25 years ago, I decided that I wanted to be involved with the community. I moved there as a single person, got married, 3 kids. We raised our family there. We loved living there. I got involved with the school board 2 years ago because I sensed that there were some changes going on in the district that needed to be addressed by the school board. This past year, and I've learned a lot since I've been on the school board. This past year, we lost over 22 or 23 teachers, highly qualified teachers, because we couldn't pay them enough. And we really have to understand that. David mentioned earlier, we want to retain good teachers. You bet we do. But we can't retain them unless we can pay them. So we've got to find ways to do that, to make sure we retain the teachers that we need to have, because good teachers do produce good students. We need to have a school district that is representation of the kind of people that want to live there. We're a destination school district. We're an A+ school district. I'm referring to Kyrene Elementary, by the way. And we have to maintain that status. It's not an easy thing to do. It's very expensive, and it takes a lot of thought process. I've only been on the board for 2 years, but we've made a lot of progress in those 2 years. I have a very strong business background. I have a corporate background. I retired at a C-level person in 2003, and since then I've owned my own business. So we've grown the business from a 3-day-a-week part-time thing that I was sort of doing, and we run 7 days a week now. And we have multiple employees, and I got to tell you, bringing someone on board into your baby, your business, is a task. I have great people who work for me, but I'm intimately involved with them. The largest group I ever managed was about 140 people, and then I would take that back. It was about 360 people in another situation, but about 140 people is pretty standard. And to know all those people and the things they were going through, and to help them with their lives is a very difficult thing to do, but it takes strong leadership to do that. For me, education is absolutely tops. I think we really have to address that. Education is what is the glue that holds our community together, and we have to make sure we address that. Jobs, we've got to have more, we've got to have better jobs. We can't continue to have a decrease in the number of jobs. We've got to have a net increase in the number of jobs. Those are the things that I want to work on. I'm a practical thinker, I'm a reasonable person, and I like to think that I make reasonable decisions.